My twin sister lost her life because of my stepmom, and now she is taking over her room for her baby. My name is Hannah, 17 female, and growing up I was inseparable from my identical twin sister Lila. We did absolutely everything together. She wasn't just my sister, but truly my best friend. Last September, everything changed. Usually, our dad picked us up from our after-school volleyball games, but that night, he was out of town. Our stepmom, Vanessa, 39 female, had to come get us instead, but she showed up an hour late, saying she'd forgotten about us because she'd been napping. The entire ride home, she complained about how we disturbed her rest. Then, as she was still ranting, Vanessa blew right past a stop sign. The next moments were still a blur of fear and confusion. We were in a horrible car crash. While I survived, spending weeks in the hospital, my twin sister Lila didn't make it. She died that night. I haven't been able to forgive Vanessa since then. She refuses to admit to any blame, even with eyewitnesses saying she ran the stop sign. I'm a calm person, not one to cause conflict, but every time I look at my stepmom, I just feel like she ripped everything away from me. She stole my best friend. On top of that, she walks around as if Lila never even existed. One day, a few months ago, when we were at Walmart with my dad, Robert, 44 male, and Vanessa, a friendly old man started chatting with them and asked my dad how many children he had. Dad said 4. My stepmom quickly corrected him. 3. Hearing her erase Lila like that sent me into a kind of numb sadness. I couldn't speak to her for the rest of the day. The loss isn't something I can explain in words. Lila understood me in ways nobody else ever could. We experienced the world side by side. Now, I walk around feeling like a shell, half alive. I dream of her often, and waking up to the reality of her absence is soul-crushing. Some nights I feel like I can't do this anymore, but I keep going, just barely. Some background. When I was a kid, my dad had an affair with Vanessa, which ultimately ended my parents' marriage. The divorce shattered our family. My mom, Sophia, 41 female, moved back to her family home in France. Lila and I had to stay here in the US with Dad, Vanessa, and our younger brothers, Noah, 8 male, and Benji, 5 male. Recently, that hit home harder than ever after the accident. I began withdrawing. I stopped eating dinner with my family. It didn't feel right to sit at the table without Lila. I started eating alone in my room, trying to just get through each day. But on Vanessa's birthday, my dad begged me to join them for dinner. I resisted, but finally gave in. Halfway through the meal, Vanessa announced to us that she was pregnant. My brothers started bouncing with excitement, asking if it was a boy or girl. Vanessa was glowing as she said it was a girl, and started talking about the baby's nursery. I asked quietly which room she was planning to use. Without a hint of hesitation, Vanessa replied that she already decided. She was going to use Lila's room, had even started clearing it out that very morning and moving things to the attic. I felt sick. No one except for me had stepped foot in Lila's room since she died. Sometimes when I miss her, I sit in there just to feel close to her. Occasionally, I even fall asleep there. Hearing that Vanessa had gone in and started erasing Lila's things without so much as a word to me felt like another blow. I asked why she hadn't talked to me first. She snapped that she didn't have to tell me anything, as she was the mother of this household. She insisted it was just what was best for the baby, and that she didn't need my negativity. I sat there, trying desperately to tune her out, but then Vanessa told me I needed to accept my twin's death and move on. That couldn't bring Lila back, that I just had to get over it. She even went so far as to suggest I should look forward to building a better bond with my soon-to-be little sister, as if Lila was replaceable. I felt myself losing control, so I quietly excused myself and left. As I walked away, I heard my dad yelling for me to come back, accusing me of being dramatic and threatening to ground me if I didn't return. Vanessa, annoyed, muttered that she didn't understand my issue. I couldn't be happy about her pregnancy, but I was so angry about her clearing out an empty bedroom. I'd reached my limit. I turned and told her, finally, everything I'd wanted to say, that Vanessa had been the source of the biggest traumas in my life. I reminded her that she knowingly got involved with a married man, shattered my family, made my mother so miserable she ended up leaving for France. I reminded her that being obsessed with her own nap is what led to the accident that killed Lila. And I told her she had no right to start moving my sister's belongings out of her room without at least warning me. But what really broke me was her constant demand that I move on. I told her it was cruel, that she was insisting I get over a trauma she caused. Vanessa responded with some cliche about how everything happens for a reason, and God works in mysterious ways. I couldn't believe it. I asked if she really thought my sister's death couldn't have been avoided. She just said, it was unlucky fate. I shot back that if she hadn't been distracted, Leela would still be alive. At that, Vanessa turned the martyr act on me, insisting I made her feel like I wished it had been her who died instead. She kept repeating, "You want me dead, don't you?" I didn't answer at first, but when she grabbed my arm and wouldn't let go, I finally snapped and admitted, yes, life would have been easier if she hadn't been around. She started crying. Dad called me heartless, and I did apologize a few minutes later, but Dad told me to just leave her alone. From then on, Dad gave me the silent treatment, and Vanessa avoided me completely. A few months prior, something similar had happened. We were at Walmart, and Dad, when asked by another shopper, said he had 4 children. Vanessa quickly interjected, 3. She does this all the time, acting as though Leela never existed. The anger boiled up in me again that day, and I confronted her about it, about everything she'd done, from the affair to the crash to erasing Leela. She tried to push back, saying I was living in the past, that I needed to let go and trust that everything happened for a reason. Once again, I asked if she sincerely believed that nothing could have prevented the accident, and she chalked it up to fate. That left me reeling. She pushed harder and harder, demanding to know if I wanted her gone. In my pain, I finally admitted my life would be easier that way. The fallout was brutal. Tears, accusations, cold silence. It's not that I'm angry about her pregnancy. I just couldn't stomach how she handled Leela's things, moving them without warning as if Leela was just an inconvenience. When I tried to explain this, no one listened. Dad sided firmly with Vanessa. Comments from Redditors poured in. Most people told me I wasn't in the wrong and that I deserved help and support, not punishment. Someone asked if my mom was still in my life. The truth is, my mom and I talk every day, usually texting and sometimes on FaceTime. But she's deeply traumatized by losing her daughter and struggles with her own mental health, depression and alcohol problems for years. After the divorce, more on that in a sec, a year after, her father got diagnosed with a terminal illness, so my mom moved back to France to help care for him. She tried to take Leela and me with her, but Dad fought her in court and won. We stayed in the US, but spent summers in France until my grandfather passed away, at which point Mom stayed there permanently. My dad never had much of a relationship with his own family, just one older brother I've never met. So, aside from my mom and her side of the family, I've only ever really had my friends for support. I wanted badly to get into therapy, but Dad wouldn't allow it. He doesn't believe in therapy and claimed it would ruin my brain. Instead, he told me to come to him or our pastor if I needed help, which isn't something I'm comfortable with. Some people wondered why Vanessa wasn't charged since her driving caused Leela's death. The answer is, she was. She's currently on probation and paid a fine. Someone else advised me to start planning my escape for when I turned 18 and could leave. Maybe even move to France. I do have dual citizenship, and I've considered relocating after high school. I speak French well conversationally, but I worry about professional language and writing, so finding work or going to school there feels intimidating. For now, I have my eyes on a college here in the US. Dad keeps all my important documents locked up, but I've thought of ways to convince him to give me access before I leave. Update. Sorry it took me so long to update here. A lot's happened these past few months, and things really spiraled after my last post. First off, thank you for the massive outpouring of support. I barely slept after sharing my story, and when I woke up, I found out it had blown up on TikTok. Vanessa's younger sister caught one of the Reddit/TikTok videos and forwarded it in a family group chat. Vanessa found out and flipped. It was chaos. She confiscated my phone and laptop, and I was grounded immediately. When Dad got home, he took her side. Vanessa's entire family was furious, and her parents yelled at my dad, telling me off for humiliating the family. But I refused to give anyone my passwords, so they couldn't take the posts down. As punishment, I couldn't leave my room, use my phone, laptop, or even talk to my mom. Then, about a week after, all hell broke loose. Vanessa lost the baby. She blamed me, sobbing that my negativity and the stress I'd brought had caused her miscarriage. She yelled at me over and over that I'd ruined everything. She fought with Dad, threatened to leave, and tried to poison my younger brothers against me, which worked, at least with Noah. Dad kept pressuring me to apologize, but I genuinely wasn't sure what for. Vanessa's pregnancy was always high risk. She'd lost 3 babies in the last 2 years, something I'd overheard her talking about with relatives on the phone. Then I hit the lowest point of my life. 4 days after that barrage, I tried to end my life. Dad and Vanessa were out with my brothers, and I tried to overdose on Benadryl. At first, nothing happened, but eventually I passed out, then woke up vomiting and in terrible pain. I must have passed out again, because my little brother Benji found me unconscious, and Dad called 911. I ended up in the ER, was given activated charcoal and a bunch of tests, and spent several hours in the psych ward after lying to doctors about my intentions. Regardless, I was still placed in an involuntary psychiatric hospital for over a week. Dad was furious at me for embarrassing him. Back home, Dad read all my journals where I confessed how much I hated my life, missed my sister, and struggled with self-harm. He confronted me, made me read my diaries out loud to him, Vanessa, and our pastor, who lectured me for 3 hours about letting go of the past. As further punishment, they took away my bedroom door and made it clear Vanessa didn't want me there anymore. Dad told me he'd be sending me to some residential camp for troubled teens. I was completely isolated, no volleyball, no electronics, not even privacy in the shower. Vanessa would stand nearby, making sure I wasn't hurting myself. I knew I had to get out. One night, I grabbed Vanessa's iPad and called my best friend, Julia. She and her parents agreed to help me escape. I started to gather my important things, especially keepsakes from Leela. I managed to get my birth certificate and social security card by telling Vanessa I needed them for a church job interview. For 2 nights, Julia drove over at 3 a.m. to spirit boxes and bags out of the house. Finally, I figured out where Dad hid my phone and laptop and snuck them out too. On the 3rd night, I left my old life behind and went with Julia. I can't give too many details, but my dad tried unsuccessfully to press charges on people who helped me. He eventually gave up since Vanessa was relieved to be rid of me. It's been 3 months since I escaped. I'm now staying with my mom's cousin, safe and finally breathing fresh air. My dad and Vanessa are on rocky terms, and as of now, I haven't been contacted by either for weeks. Now, I'm about to finish high school, and plane tickets to Europe are in my sights. I turned 18 today. I'm relieved that legally, I never have to talk to my dad again. Thanks to everyone who reached out, gave advice, or suggested legal action regarding Vanessa. Sorry for any typos. Typing this out brought back a big wave of anxiety and pain. On Reddit, people kept asking about my mom. Where was she in all this? Why didn't she step in or take me to live with her after Leela died? It's complicated. When Dad and Mom divorced at my age of 8, they first had shared custody. When Mom wanted to move to France, she tried for full custody, but Dad, being better off financially, dragged her through court and won. We were stuck in the US except for summer trips. After Leela died, my mom came to the funeral and begged Dad to let me move with her. He refused, using threats and his church connections. My mom simply didn't have the money for another court battle, and at that time was reeling, struggling with her own mental health and bouts with alcoholism. I lost touch with her for a while, but recently she's been through rehab, is almost a year sober, and getting therapy. We now talk every day, and she has been amazing. In fact, she came to visit last month for Thanksgiving. For now, I'm staying with her cousin who's taken me in his family, and I'm planning to join Mom in France as soon as I graduate. I may not know what my future holds, but at last I'm free to shape it myself. That wraps up the whole story. This story highlights the complex web of grief, blame, and emotional survival within fractured families. Sometimes, breaking free from a toxic environment is the only choice left, but everyone pays a price for unresolved pain. I've got a question for you. How do you think families should handle grief and accountability in the aftermath of a tragedy? Would you have reacted differently? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.